Stop. Don't buy that Pix package or all access. Wait, what? Yep. Don't click add to cart until you check out our new deals page at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo, where you can find all the latest offers, promotions, and coupons available all in one place. These deals are updated daily and can be found by clicking deals in the nav at WagerTalk or Sports Memo, going to wt.buzz/deals, or scanning the QR code on your screen.
Welcome on in to Asian Baseball Today. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and happy early Memorial Day weekend to those tuning in the States. Hopefully it is a healthy and happy one, but we got plenty of business to take care of before we start cracking open some beverages. So let's bring in the guys. We got Adam Trigger and Tokyo Brandon with us as usual. And Brandon, we'll start with you. I'm glad that once I returned to the show, I'm back here in the host chair. Things didn't fall apart. You stayed rolling, my guy, 3-0 in KBO yesterday. So we were talking on Monday about a 3-0 weekend for Adam. Now we get to start off Thursday's show with a 3-0 start for you. Tokyo Brandon, how you doing, my man?
How you doing? Yeah, it was it's kind of a strange year, but actually it went the same as last year. My Japanese play is not going quite as well as my KBO so far this year, but that's last year kind of started the opposite. My Japanese was red hot. My KBO was lagging behind. Right now I'm winning 62.7% of my KBO plays, which is pretty hot. And then in the Japanese league, I'm winning 58.7. So slightly behind in the win percentage there, but I did go 3-0 yesterday in the KBO, and I went 1-2 in my Japanese plays. And tonight I have plays in both leagues as well, and I'm going to give away a best bet at the end of this show as well. So yeah, things are going pretty good.
Yeah, and you'll be happy to know, Brandon, I did check out the Jerky Boys. I listened to some of those recordings, and I actually remember downloading those back in the LimeWire days. So I didn't realize that it was the Jerky Boys, but when I looked it up, it landed, and I knew what you were talking about there. So at least,
the 80s,
another one.
They actually have a Jerky Boys movie, if you can believe it. There's an hour-and-a-half movie of prank calls from New Yorkers. Great stuff.
I don't know if I could sit through an hour and a half of Frank Rizzo, but I know I can sit through about another 20, 30 minutes here of the KBO show. So let's welcome in our other guy, Adam Trigger. Let them know, Trig, what you got loaded for tonight, because I know a pretty big ticket play that you're excited about. And how are you doing, brother?
Yep, so I have a 5%er MLB tonight. I've had a ridiculous walk-off win in my last client Major League Baseball play, which was 2 nights ago. The Giants won an all-timer against the Mets, 13-12. It was just a wild game if you were able to catch that. Didn't have any client plays in Major League Baseball yesterday, but I did come on Twitter and give out the Texas Rangers, which won relatively easily. Had a really nice KBO run, I think 4 or 5 in a row, going up till earlier this morning. Samsung just could not figure out how to execute down the stretch and lost the game that really I think they probably should have won. But I fully expect to get right back in the win column in KBO. And since I've got that 5% MLB up for sale, I'm going to give you the KBO best bet for free here on the show. So stay tuned for that. And hopefully, we keep rolling because it's been a great season so far. And, it's only May. Well, a couple days left in May. So hopefully we keep right on rolling cash and tickets.
So with the money Adam's going to save you on the 4% play, you should be able to grab that 5%er Major League Baseball loaded right now. So if it's your first time joining us here on Asian Baseball Today, we always start at the top here with a standings update in the KBO so we can all be on the same page. My SSG Landers continue to roll on a 3-game win streak. They're solely in first place. You got 2 teams tied for second with LG and Kiwoom. We got Kia Tigers at 4th place. We got Samsung, Lotte, Doosan as we run down there, all in that kind of mid-20s win range. Doosan just at 21, and then you got the Wiz. the Hanwha Eagles and the NC Dinos squarely back in that last place spot, coming off of another loss. And you kind of alluded to Samsung right there, Adam. So I want to start with you, because now for these teams, over 40 games down, we kind of start being able to decipher maybe a little bit more on what teams are legit, what teams are being priced, underpriced, overpriced. And you wanted to take a look at the team you were just mentioning there with Samsung and how maybe the market is viewing them a little bit different than you do. What do you have for the folks in our What Did We Learn segment?
Well, there's no question the market likes the Samsung team. They did last year, and they do again this year, because they were sort of habitually overpriced last year, although they kind of made that stand up, right? Because they got to the very last day of the season with a chance to win the league, ended up finishing second after losing a one-game playoff. This year, they've been priced kind of similar, but they're really, this team is probably going to, it's going to be hard for Samsung to get much further past 500. And the reason is, and I've said it before on this show, and it was on display in that game this morning, when you get outside of like the top 4 or 5 hitters on this team, there is no one else that can do anything in the Samsung lineup. The bottom of this order is so dreadful. And sure enough, I needed Samsung. It's 9-6. They've got bases loaded, no outs, bottom of the 8th inning. And I think it went 6, 7, 8, 5, 6, 7, 8, or 6, 7, 8, 9 came up. And it was strikeout, a cheap little bleeder hit that scored 1 run, strikeout swinging at ball 4, and then strikeout looking. And it just goes back to my point. The bottom of the order is so weak that if you can live bet KBO and you are able to watch the game and you see Samsung in it, because here's what happens in live betting, as you guys know, it's a computer generated algorithm. Live betting does not take into consideration really even who is up. I mean, it may to an extent, right? Like they might have an ability to skew it if like Jose Perella comes up. But my guess is in KBO, they're not doing that. And, but in live betting, the odds are going to get skewed based on the situation in the game. And I'm telling you right now, if Samsung has runners on late in the game where they're facing good relief pitching that gets swing and miss and can get strikeouts and can get outs, which a lot of these teams have this year with the expanded strike zone, you can pretty much just fade Samsung in those spots because they probably will not achieve what the odds are saying they should achieve with like the bases loaded and no outs. So there's probably some really good live betting opportunities if you're willing to bite the bullet and put a bet in when a team's got a bunch of runners on. I'm telling you right now, Samsung comes up with guys on base and they're facing we'll get into this weekend a little later, but like LG's bullpen top to bottom has studs all over the place. 6 to 9 is not going to cash those opportunities in for Samsung. I wouldn't do it if you've got like JLO or Perella or one of their leadoff hitter up. But if you get to like 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 in that order, fade away, take the plus price, because Samsung's bottom of their order, they're probably going to strike out or they're probably not going to make very much contact. And there's a good chance they're not going to cash it in, which is what they did to me this morning. And they cost Samsung that game. So potential live betting opportunity there for you if you're willing to jump in when Samsung's got some guys on base and the bottom half of their order is at the plate.
So what Adam Trigger will do for you is give you some tools to live bet. What he can't do for you is wake your ass up at 5 a.m. so you can get these live bets in. So get the pot of coffee on if you're here in the States and use some of those live betting opportunities to potentially be fading Samsung. So Tokyo Brandon, wanted to get into you because, like he was kind of saying, a bit of an enigma maybe there with the algorithm setting up some live betting opportunities. But you wanted to talk about this Kiwoom Heroes side, and you look at the surface, 8-2 in their last 10, right? They just swept the second place Twins. They're rolling. You dive a little deeper. Those 2 losses in the last 10 came to Hanwha and NC, which if you were paying attention during our recap, that's the 2 worst in the league. So what do you make of this Kiwoom side, Brandon?
Yeah, not only that, but as Adam and I have always said throughout the season, Kiwoom is the measuring stick for mediocrity in the KBO. And you look at them, they're number 2 in the standings. But if you look at their stats, it's a little bit out of touch with reality. You're out of touch, I'm out of time, but I'm running my head when you're not. There she is. Okay, I was going to keep singing until she came out. But anyway, who doesn't like a little Hall & Oates? But anyway, their stats are extremely out of touch with what we're seeing here. They're 8-2 in their last 10 games. But this team is not very good. I got to say, they're not very good. So why are they doing so well? Let's take a look. First of all, take a look at their bullpen and their lineup. They both respectively rank right in the middle at number 6 out of 10 teams. The lineup in run production and the bullpen in ERA and WHIP. They rank firmly at number 6. So this is the measuring stick of mediocrity. So why are they so good? It's their starting rotation. If you look at their starting rotation, they added Tyler Epler this year. They still have Jokic. They still have Choi Won-tae, who's one of the better Korean pitchers. And they also have Amu Jing. So Amu Jing's really good this year. So their 1, 2, 3, 4 pitchers are doing great. So number 5 is Jang Chan Hung. And Jang Chan Hung is not a great pitcher, but this year, he's got a what does he have here? He's got a 4.5 ERA and a 1.32 WHIP. So actually in the KBO, that's not too bad. He's not striking anyone out. He's 2.37 strikeouts per 9 and 2.37 balls per 9. So he doesn't have great numbers, but that's their number 5. Abu Jin is their number 4, and he could probably be a top 2, maybe top 3. I mean, as far as Korean pitchers are concerned, he's definitely a top 10. And so they've got two Korean pitchers in their top 4 of the rotation who are top 10 pitchers in the league. And then they have 2 of the better, as Adam calls them, import pitchers in Jokic and Epler. So their starting rotation is really good, and they're keeping them in games. But I don't expect to see Kiwoom in number 1, number 2 throughout the whole season. I really don't expect to see him. Eventually, I think their mediocrity will catch up to them. They're just not really a run-producing team. They added Yasiel Puig, but he's got some homers, but he's not hitting for average. I think eventually the mediocrity is going to catch up to them. You can only go so far with your rotation, but as I said in previous shows, they're relying on their starting pitching a lot. They're not really using that bullpen very much compared to other teams. And eventually they're going to get tired. Eventually they're going to have to start putting that bullpen in. I see Kiwoom falling down the rankings a little bit as the season progresses. I don't think they're going to make the playoffs.
Kiwoom making the playoffs. Tokyo Brandon says he can't go for that. See, I know a little Hall & Oates as well, Brandon. I'm good to go there. No. Boys, you get a double one there. Guys, let's keep on rolling here right into our featured game. Caught a little flack in the comments, which we love. Hop in the comments, let us know any of your thoughts. But they were saying, what are you guys doing with these featured matchups? So we're going to the marquee matchup. We got the SSG Landers taking on the Kia Tigers. Both of these teams red hot, boys. 3 straight wins apiece. You're seeing the Landers moneyline favorite, minus 125, total at 9. Brandon, I'm going to go right back your way. Like I said, these teams are both hot. Who stays hot tomorrow morning, in your opinion, Brandon?
First of all, to address the comments, we're not betting on games because they're entertaining. We're betting on games because we see an edge in them. And so, doing this show, we want to entertain you, but we also want to make you some money. But the most entertaining game, in college basketball, the Duke versus Michigan is not always the game you're going to make your money on. You might make your money on, Delaware versus Appalachian State. So that's just one thing to go out there. Maybe we're not going to make money on the most entertaining game, but to be honest, we're not doing this for entertainment. We're doing this to make a profit. That being said, let's preview the most entertaining game of the day, which is number 1 and number 3. We got Dan's favorite team, SSG, because he likes that downtown Seattle building looking thing there on their logo, and we got the Kia Tigers.
Looks like a spaceship.
These are by far. It's a spaceship. Yeah. Okay. The Space Needle. Yeah.
I think so. Right.
It's actually 100%. A UFO because. there's some history behind there where there's like a landing port there or something, which is why they're called the Landers. I don't know. Anyways, we got the number 1 and the number 2 lineups. So both of these teams can hit really well, but they also have really good bullpens. SSG, I have their bullpen ranked number 2. Kia, I have them ranked number 5 out of 10. Now let's look at the starting pitching, because I think everything else is pretty negligible. But SSG is putting out Lee Tae-yang, and Lee Tae-yang against Kia last year, he only started one time. He gave up 2 runs. This year he hasn't faced him yet. So far in his starts this year, because he was a reliever at the beginning of the season, but in his starts, he's given up 2 runs, 1 run, 4 runs. So he's a solid pitcher. I have him ranked pretty much in the middle of the pack as far as all pitchers in Korea. So he can hold up. He's not going to go long, though. So that bullpen is going to come in, but their bullpen's better than Kia's. So if we look at Im Gi-young is a pitcher for Kia who has a really hot girlfriend, by the way. But besides that, I call him Lips when I'm looking it up, because if you look at this guy, his lips are like half of his face. But anyway, he against SSG last year, he gave up 7 runs in 2 starts against Kia last year, or against SSG last year. And in his other start, he gave up 3. So he does have a propensity to get rocked by this team. Not saying that they're going to perform exactly like they did last year, but sometimes you look at last year to see how he goes against, most of these hitters. And, our KBO stats are not quite like MLB stats, whereas at MLB stats, if Urias is starting today, I can just say, hey, how does Urias do against the Phillies? But you can't do that in the KBO. So the best thing I can do is how did he perform against them last year? Well, Im Gi-young got completely rocked by SSG last year. He gave up 7, 7, and 3. So I would lean on SSG here, but I'm kind of looking at all the factors in this game, and the bullpen, SSG's bullpen is slightly better and their lineup is slightly worse. It's pretty negligible to me, but I would kind of rely on the stats from last year. Im Gi-young, the starting pitcher for Kia, got completely rocked by SSG, so I would give SSG the nod here slightly.
So, yeah, and if you were ever wondering why we don't do the most entertaining game, it's because Brandon will end up talking about hot girlfriends and giant lips. So we'll stick to letting Brandon pick our featured matchups here.
He's like the guy on Fat Albert. Those huge lips. Take a look at Im Gi-young on Google.
Timely references, as always, out of our guy Brandon. A Fat Albert reference. Cash the long shot there. Adam, I know your best bet's coming in this game, so you don't have to belabor the point like Wild, but this SSG Landers and Tigers game you'll have a bit more later. But just some surface thoughts for our featured game today.
Well, I actually think there's a big bullpen disparity here. Not so much on paper, but right now, Kia's bullpen is in a tough spot. So they've lost import starter Sean Nolan earlier, I would say toward the end of last week, or maybe earlier this week, they found out they'd be without him. And what they kind of did was they rushed import starter Ronnie Williams back. They had him pitch over the weekend, which I don't think was something that they wanted to do or he wanted to do. I know the initial idea was he wasn't going to come back till this week, but it was very odd. They threw him over the weekend in a relief outing, and then they started him yesterday. And that was part of the reason I was on Samsung yesterday. It was really more of a fate of Kia, because I felt like they were just, it was like a knee-jerk reaction rushing Ronnie Williams back into work because their other import pitcher got hurt. Williams predictably didn't pitch very well, didn't last very long in that game. And I think Kia could have a real, bullpen crisis coming up here, similar to what we saw out of Hanwha the last couple of weeks, where they're going to be without Nolan for some time. They are going to, who knows if Williams is completely right, because he really hasn't looked right since coming back. And I really think they rushed him back. And yesterday, they needed every bit of their bullpen to hold off Samsung in that game. It was a 9-7 game. They used like 5 or 6 relievers and a bunch of high leverage guys the last couple of days. Remember, Kia has also won 4 straight coming into this game. So they've needed, high leverage situation after high leverage situation, sweeping Samsung. 2 of those games were close. So I actually think Kia's bullpen is in a very difficult spot for this game particularly. You go back to the starters, Ji-Young Im, he's solid, but the books, in my opinion, and I've said this a couple times, for whatever reason, they overpriced this guy. I don't understand why. It's been going on since last year, but every time he's on the mound, Kia is either too big of a favorite or they're not a big enough underdog. And I don't know if the metrics just scream like him. I mean, he has some really interesting numbers. His ERA is 4.78, which is not good, but his WHIP is 1.14. Like, I would challenge anyone to find me another guy in baseball in any league that has an ERA of like 5 and a WHIP of 1.14. That's like almost a complete statistical anomaly right there. And usually that suggests that a guy's probably better than their ERA. But I go back to what Brandon said, SSG, they hit him well last year. The SSG lineup, when healthy, is completely loaded. They're one of the top lineups in the game. They got Choi Jung back. Chu is healthy again. So SSG's lineup is as good as you're going to find in this league. And if Im isn't working deep, he has really labored his last 2 starts. He didn't work deep at all. And if Kia's all of a sudden into their bullpen in the 5th, 6th inning here, I don't see where they piece 4 innings together. So, I'll touch on Taeyang Lee and SSG's starter in best bets. But yeah, I pretty much gave it away. I think SSG is at an extremely short price here. They're the best team in this league. I've said it all year. And if you're going to give me them at minus 125, when I think their opponent is in a compromised position, I'm going to take that all day. So I really do like SSG in this game.
We'll circle back, get Adam's final thoughts on that when we get to best bets. But before that, let's get into our series previews. And Adam, I'm going to throw it right back your way because you're sticking in the KBO. Brandon going to be taking a look at an NPB series starting tomorrow morning. But you talked about Samsung at the top of the show, and you wanted to take a little bit deeper of a dive into their series that they have coming up against the LG Twins. So throw it right back your way and give your thoughts on our series breakdown for today, Adam.
Yeah, so interesting here. We just talked about 2 teams that are on big winning streaks. Both Samsung and LG got swept in their most recent series. So now you have 2 teams coming in that haven't won in a while. And I'll just start off by saying I think the more likely team to continue their losing streak is Samsung. If I didn't give that away at the top of the show, I think they're more like the team more likely to go into a tailspin here is Samsung, not LG. Because LG, I think Brandon gave a great breakdown on LG a couple weeks ago. They really just don't have holes in this team. They do everything well, from hitting, pitching, top to bottom. Bullpen's excellent. And LG just finally called him back. I was talking about this like 2 weeks ago, that they were going to bring Rio Ruiz back, and they finally brought him back earlier this week. He didn't play well in his game back, but he pinch hit yesterday, got an RBI. And I just have to think that like maybe that's like the spark that maybe gets him going, because LG has had 0 production out of Ruiz yet this year. And that's their import guy. That's the guy that they paid the big bucks and brought in to be their 3 or 4 hitter. And they've gotten nothing out of him so far, but he's back with the team. And so I'm just going to hope that, there's a little bit of positive regression for him and that he starts to hit, because he's hitting like 160. And I just don't see a guy that was productive for the Orioles a couple seasons ago to all of a sudden come to the KBO and hit under 200. That just doesn't seem right. And I think sometime in the Futures League will have benefited him. And if he starts to hit, that makes LG very scary, because they've been hitting without him for the most part. Also agree with what Brandon said about Kiwoom. One other thing I'll add there is they are like the masters of getting the timely hit, because they really don't hit all that much. But every time they do hit, it seems like they cash in. And that's what they did to LG earlier this week in that series. So, Samsung, you look at the starting pitching, how it lines up in this series. They have their quote-unquote stopper on the mound in this first game. It's Albert Suarez against Min-Ho Lee. Not sure I want to go against Suarez, but you could potentially put my live betting sort of suggestion into play there if you can find an in-game spot later in that game to take advantage of let's say Samsung's up a run or two, and you can get a really nice price. Because I think Samsung, outside of like Suarez and a couple guys, this roster's weak. And I look at how this week is going to play out. Saturday, LG is probably going to have Casey Kelly. Samsung will probably go with Beck, who's been not very good. And then Samsung could have a bullpen game on Sunday, or they'll have like the glorified bullpen game with Dongjae Huang making the start against Young Sit Kim, which actually you might be able to find a pretty good price on LG there. In this game on Friday, I think LG plus 1.5. It's expensive. It's probably like minus 150. But I think that's a way you could take a shot at Samsung. I don't think LG is losing more than they win. Or I'm sorry, yeah, they're going to win more than they lose in the series with Samsung. I just think they're that much better of a team. 2.88 bullpen ERA. It's the top in the league. Seungwon Oh for Samsung has not been seen since the 21st. I know he was dealing with a little bit of an injury, and if he is not available, that Samsung bullpen is significantly worse because he's probably – I still think Seungwon Oh is the best relief pitcher in the league. If you had to give me an individual that I would put in a spot in a game, I'd probably take him over a lot of these other guys. So if he's out, their bullpen's compromised. I just think LG is a far superior team. You could go with the plus price in the Friday game. I actually prefer to split that, make it a +1. Take half your bet on the money line and half your bet on the run line if you want to bet LG on Friday. But if they were to lose to Suarez, which is really possible, could get a really nice price on LG in a really good spot later in the series.
Adam Traeger setting you up there with his series breakdown to make some money this Memorial Day weekend. Let's swing on over to the NPB. This is Asian baseball today, after all. And Brandon, you've been going this route past couple shows here, taking a look at some interleague matchups here in the Japanese baseball league. We got the Hanshin Tigers playing the Lotte Marines. How are you breaking this one down, Brandon?
Yeah, speaking of LG, before I get to the Japanese one, last year Andrew Suarez for LG was a great pitcher. Last night he made his Japanese pitching debut and he got rocked. He pitches for Yakult now. He got rocked yesterday by the Nippon Hemp Fighters. So it gives you an idea of the discrepancy between the Japanese league and the Korean league. The level's a bit higher in Japan. So about this series, we got the Hanshin Tigers taking on the Lotte Marines, and these are two of the softest hitting teams, and especially the Hanshin Tigers. The Hanshin Tigers in their last 3 games have scored 2 runs and have 13 hits. So they are anemic at the plate right now. And we've got two of the best rotations in Japan. Particularly Chiba Lotte Marines have Roki Sasaki, who about a month ago threw that no-hitter. Almost perfect game, and he's amazing. Basically, he's just incredibly amazing. How amazing is he so far this season? He has a 1.47 ERA and a 0.76 WHIP. So the Hanshin Tigers have really good pitching too. They're starting Wilkerson today. He's got a 1.78 ERA and a 0.90 WHIP. So we got 2 teams. Not only these guys, but the number 2 and the number 3 for each team. Pretty good rotations here. We got bullpens that are not so good, but I go back to the hitting. I mean, these teams rank 9 and 11 respectively out of 12 teams. I'm looking at a lot of unders in this series. Unfortunately, today's game, the over-under came out at 5. And to bet the under on that is a little tight. 5 is tough. But if you look around for some team totals, first 5 innings under 1.5 if your book offers that. Or some team totals, if you see a 3.5 might be good. Even the Hanshin Tigers team total under 2.5 might be okay too. But maybe today is a layoff game because these 2 pitchers are so good. But in this series, if you see any game totals that are 6s, definitely take the under in that. And if you see any team totals that are 3.5, I would definitely bet the under in that. So take a look at the numbers as the games come out today, tomorrow, and the next day.
There you go, some series breakdowns for your Memorial Day weekend. Want to remind you, head on over to these guys' pages. We got wt.buzz/AT for Adam Trigger, wt.buzz/TB for Tokyo Brandon. Deals as well, wt.buzz/deals. You can grab these guys' plays right this moment. And we're going to start off with everybody's favorite segment. It's Best Bet time. And Adam, you get to go first because anytime anybody has a game featuring my SSG Landers, I just default to go into them first. He has a 5% play loaded right now. He's going to save you some money with a 4% play he's giving you. Head on over to his page and grab that. So Best Bet time. Adam Trigger, the floor is yours, my man.
Yeah, so this is a 4% play for my clients. Gave it, tipped it off earlier. It's the SSG Landers, minus 125. Which I think is an incredibly cheap price here. I talked a bit about Kia and why I think it's a fade of Kia in this spot earlier in the show. So here I'm going to talk about SSG starter Tae-Yang Lee. He's more of a reliever that's sort of a placeholder. They had SSG had no go down earlier this year, and he very well could be pitching for his spot in the starting rotation here because on the horizon for SSG, Seungwon Moon and Jong-Hun Park are both going to come back probably within the next week or two. What Lee, if you look at his numbers, he's 31 years old. Career numbers are not great, but he's actually been really good as a starter since they moved him into the starting rotation. He's been able to work relatively deep. He hasn't gotten blown up. So, I actually think you're getting a good value on a guy that has embraced the starter role since SSG's moved him into the starting rotation. And then it just goes back to wanting to play against Kia. I think their bullpen is in a horrible spot here after using so many relievers yesterday and having issues with their import pitchers and injuries. We know Nolan went on the DL and Williams hasn't given them depth in a outing since he's come back. So I just think it's a compromise spot for Kia. They're going to be really limited with bullpen arms or at least fresh bullpen arms here, while SSG has they just seem to have a deeper bullpen. They seem to have an answer for everything. They're one of the top offenses in the league. Their pitching is deep. They play particularly good defense, and in my opinion, it's no surprise to me that they're the number one team in the league and that they're as far ahead as they are. I said they would be at the beginning of the season, and it's pretty much materialized to this point. SSG, I just think they're a far superior team. I think all of the intangibles sort of make sense here. So if you're going to give me them at minus 125, I'm going to take it. SSG Landers to win, 4% best bet.
Love it. Free 4%er there from our guy, Adam Trigger. Lay it with SSG, he says. Brandon, will go your way. Want to remind people, hitting at a 62.7% clip here in the KBO. So if you've been riding with Brandon, you'd be a rich girl or guy. Brandon, what do you got for best bets here today for the folks? Had to slide that one in right here in our last segment. Let them know what you got up and what you have for a best bet.
Trying to catch me riding dirty. Try to catch me riding dirty. They see me rolling. No, I'm playing.
One from the century. So, there we go.
Let me let me back up what Adam said just real quick. If you're worried about Kia being at home, SSG has a 14-7 away record, and Kia is 11-11 at home. So I wouldn't let the home field advantage bother you on that play either. So my bet is actually going to be in the Doosan NC game. And I don't know if you guys were paying attention to the scores yesterday, but Doosan had a football game score against Hama last night. They beat them 24-3, something like that. I was like, what is this, college football? So Doosan's heating up, and Doosan's putting Choi Won-jun on the mound. And he's actually one of my favorite Japanese or Korean pitchers. He might not have the consistency that some of the, Amujing or some of those other homegrown pitchers have. But Choi Won-jun, he's got a 2.54 ERA and a 1.23 WHIP. His strikeout rate is a little bit down, but he only walks 1.6 guys every 9 innings. He's going against Kim Si-hoon. Kim, he gave up 2 earned in 5 against Doosan the last time. out. He never goes past 4 or 5 innings. And NC has the 10th ranked bullpen in the league. So I'm all over Doosan here. They have the starting pitcher advantage. They have the bullpen advantage. They have the lineup advantage. So I'm all over Doosan, and they're hot. I looked at it. I think it was minus 170. So that might be quite a bit of a price to lay. I would make it a 3 or 4% play if you're gonna go straight money line. But to make it a digestible line, I think the minus 1.5 is hovering around minus 110 or so. So I'd take Doosan and lay the minus 1.5. They're on the road, so I don't mind laying 1.5 for a road team because they're going to get all 9 of their at bats. So Doosan it is. I'm on Doosan here. Play them any way you can. If you can digest the minus 170, digest it. If you can't take that, then lay the 1.5. Doosan.
There you go. Best bet, Doosan Bears laying the lumber minus 1.5. So a Hall & Oates reference, a Chameleon Air reference. You never know what you're going to get from Brandon. You just know he's going to be getting you some winners. Adam also back in the SSG Landers on the money line. There's your best bets for Memorial Day weekend. Want to remind the viewers here, we will not be live on Monday. We'll be back the following Thursday. We'll let you enjoy your holiday with your families, and we'll do the same. So want to remind you again, SSG Landers money line for our guy, Adam Trigger. He's got a 5% play loaded right now in Major League Baseball. Brandon going with the Doosan Bears. So if you've enjoyed the show, just hit us with a little like, hop in the comments, good, bad, and different. Want to say I look like, what was it, Wendy's brother in Ozark. I've heard that so many times, and it works. It works for sure. I just have been institutionalized 100% less, so that also works out. So guys, let's get running here. Make sure you subscribe, hit that bell. We are approaching 100,000 subscribers rapidly here, and we couldn't be more proud about it. So for the crew, for Tokyo Brandon, for Adam Trigger, for Robert behind the scenes, we appreciate you tuning in, and we will talk to you Thursday on Asian Baseball Today.
Stop. Don't buy that picks package or all access. Wait, what? Yep. Don't click add to cart until you check out our new deals page at both WagerTalk and Sports Memo. Where you can find all the latest offers, promotions, and coupons available all in one place.
Talk to you later, guys. Have a good holiday.
These deals are updated daily and can be found by clicking deals in the nav at WagerTalk or Sports Memo, going to wt.buzz/deals, or scanning the QR code on your screen.